show. Okay, we are live from Studio C in the
69.
heart of Studio 69. In the heart of I just grabbed the whole bucket.
I ate the whole plate.
Grab the whole bucket.
He's got the whole bucket in his hand. He's got the whole damn bucket in his hand. He got that
My chair
motherfucking
is
bucket.
falling apart, and I don't want to die. Okay.
Seems like it's not your choice.
Nope. All right. Bleh! There we go. That's right. Not this.
First time you did that shit, it scared me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That was the idea.
This is legal. Hold on.
Welcome to Loosely Stoned.
Legalize it. I mean, it's legal where I am right now.
But legalize it everywhere.
Yeah, I need it not
because this can kill you faster.
True. But this might kill me even faster.
What is that? Gamer Fuel?
Yeah, Orange Monster. It's fucking amazing, actually.
Oh god.
That's the sound of good times.
You should be a fucking spokesperson.
I was gonna say, fucking sponsor us, man. Monster. You're not. Are we human or are we monster?
I ask myself that question all the time.
I mean, that's the whole point of like. You haven't played The Last of Us, have you?
I haven't finished it.
Oh, buddy. Well, you've got like a month. Less than a month? No,
yeah.
You've got a little.
I forgot they didn't. For some reason, I thought they moved that back like to the fall.
No, so that's the thing. So they initially moved it back to like November, and then they were like, delayed indefinitely. And then they were like, it's actually done in June. So we're like, okay, like we'll take it, but and yeah, it like just went gold. Like they just printed discs. That said, from what I understand, the Naughty Dog team has been like somewhat pretentious about it because they've just been like, like the director Neil Druckmann was like, I watched the end of our game and I fucking cried, like blah blah blah, and I'm like, really, like this thing that I made, like all of my choices were just so perfect, and I'm like, they probably were, but like you don't have to say it like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I read that and I understood why people found that. I don't know. I guess in other contexts that would have bothered me. I don't know why it didn't bother me. He is sort of being like. Yeah. I mean,
no, it's especially compared to Cory Barlog, who like whenever I think of like just him outside of like video game. I mean, it was, right after God of War came out and like he got all the positive reception of just like 10 out of 10s and all that shit. Yeah, like he put up a video of him going over like the Metacritic reviews and like just breaking down and saying thank you and like all this stuff. Like he cried over people enjoying what he did, not like him enjoying his own shit. Like, yeah. And I don't know. Like I haven't made a game, so like I can't completely judge. I don't know what it's like. It probably takes a lot out of you.
I mean, like I'm sure, like I've heard someone say they've cried at their own movie before or something like that, and it hasn't bothered me. I guess it's just the fact that him saying it when he did comes off as like just like an ad for it, you know. If it was like an interview, if it was him being interviewed and being like what does this story mean to you, blah blah blah, and he was like, like it's really important to me, and like when I was playing through it in our final build, and I started weeping at the end, and it was because of all this work we put into it.
I was about to say
how much I fell in love with the characters in the process. But him just tweeting like, my game is going to destroy you because it couldn't even destroy me. I am afraid of my own creation.
Fuck Corona. There's going to be another toilet paper shortage because I'm about to make everyone shit their goddamn pants. Like, calm down. I need to stop hitting this goddamn desk.
Smash, 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 smash.
Dingleberry smash.
Yeah.
I saw that Joel McHale and Ken Jeong's podcast is like number 2 on Apple Podcasts. Like, good for them.
Well, also, you heard about the virtual table read they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, after they did that table read, they did a bonus episode of their podcast where they had everyone who was in the table read in this podcast, except for Pedro Pascal, but like Donald Glover, Danny Pudi, like the whole cast, and Dan.
What a time to be alive!
Yeah,
I mean, for only these reasons. Like, everything else is kind of.
There is a timeline out there, an even darker one, where Donald Glover is not back involved in Community stuff. So
that's true.
I'll take it.
It took a global pandemic to bring him back.
But they're doing the fucking Walt Goggins episode with the polygraphy test, and Pedro Pascal is doing Walton Goggins' part, which I think is great. Especially because the end of that episode where he just screams, "Let's do shots!" I'm so excited to see fucking Pedro Pascal yell that.
Nadir, did you know that you're weird and nothing you ever said made any sense? Yep. Good. Here's your sperm. Dude, for those that have not seen Community, good. I'm sure that made so much sense.
Yeah, I'm not like I feel like in the entire run of Loosely Defined, Community has probably come up a lot less than it normally would, but considering the fact that I do an entire podcast for it, it's like unnecessary for us to talk about it. That said, and for the first time I feel very confident in saying when the movie gets announced, we are damn sure covering it on this show as well, because then it'll much more. I mean, it still fits into the context of this show. I mean, we talk TV and stuff, but if
TV and movies defined,
we couldn't. TV movies defined.
I'm actually really excited about movies defined this week because I have so many feelings.
About the one we're going to watch or the one we just watched?
About the one we just watched. So the thing about I don't want to spoil the movie that we're going to watch next week, but I have like really no idea what the only thing I know about it is that it's good or people enjoy it. So
exactly. Everyone I know who saw it is like their favorite movie from last year. Like even, well, not to spoil what it isn't, but even more than Parasite. But yeah.
My thing is I don't know the genre. I don't know who's in it. I have and once we kind of it just became one of those. Okay, there's been enough buzz that like with Parasite, I went into that pretty much blind. Like the only thing I knew about it was that it was in Korean. That was it. Just by the name, I was kind of okay, it's going to be kind of spooky, but that was pretty much it. With Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I'm like, this could be.
Well, there you go. I was teasing it out a little bit.
Gosh, darn it! I'm looking at the show doc.
Watch Portrait of a Lady on Fire and tweet. All right. We'll get back to that later, though. It's fine.
Welcome to Spoiled Define.
But before we get into deeply dramatic foreign films, let's talk about video games.
Woot, diggity woot. Woot, diggity woot.
Actually, I guess before we should do a quick. Is there any catch up you want to do from this week? Anything you've watched or played that's stuck out to you?
No, I've been grinding Final Fantasy. I hit the point where so they're 18. Okay, so for one thing, I've been trying to not look into how many chapters there are or how far am I into the game. But after a while, I realized hey, you can miss some things, and then that'll drastically change the outcome of the end of the game. So I kind of started looking into that. So I am chapter 14 of 18, and they told me straight up as I started the chapter, hey, do all the side quests right now before you go into this next area because there's no turning back.
Well, okay.
So now I feel not I don't want the game to end. So I'm just trying to take my time with it. It's so fucking good. I've talked about it enough, so I'm not gonna go on and on. But it's so fucking good, and I'm gonna cry. Even if in the last hour they just completely shit the bed, it's been fucking awesome so far. So I can't really complain. Nice.
Yeah, I haven't played a second of anything this week other than Animal Crossing, and even then I haven't been playing as much Animal Crossing the last week because I was doing other stuff. But I watched some movies, but nothing really exciting to report on or anything like that. The only thing I watched that I hadn't seen before was Frozen 2, but I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. It was about as good as the first one, which is pretty good, but
I still am mad. Like I don't think I'll ever actually like Frozen purely because of the circumstances under which I watched Frozen the first time. I think that was right grammatically. I don't know.
I understood.
I understood. Yeah, I'm just gonna run along with it. It's language is me trying to convey a message. If you got that message, then it's success. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of like held hostage. Not held hostage. It was just like we went to the theater. I was told that we were going to see Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh yeah, that's this one.
Yeah, and I got there, and people were, hey, it was me, two other friends. One friend said, hey, other person has seen Frozen. You're the only person here that hasn't seen Frozen. We should see Frozen. I'm like, that makes no sense because none of us have seen Saving Mr. Banks. And I got outvoted. So I went to go see. Also, walked in not knowing it was a musical. And at the time, hating musicals.
That's I'm sorry, that's on you.
I did. Okay, my thing is with Frozen, it immediately, once I saw it's a nice princess, I was like, not my demographic. This is not for me. And immediately dismissed it. Like that's
you
not.
weren't at least like curious in the fact that it was like a Disney animated movie, like a main house Disney animated movie.
No, that was during my I'm mad at Disney times. Okay. That was like I was not feeling it.
Before they started doing all the superheroes and the laser beams.
Yeah, like before they got relevant to my interests.
You had me with Incredibles, but that was Pixar. It doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm just like this. Like I'm sure I knew what it was. Like, or maybe I knew that there were songs in it, but I didn't know that it was like a musical. Like,
this is dumb, especially because like obviously I knew this was a thing, but I just like we're talking about Disney, and it just reminded me that there's Toy Story and Monsters Inc. in Kingdom Hearts 3, and it made me suddenly like I knew that, and like I've known that the whole time, but now for the first time since I actually bought it months ago, I really want to play Kingdom Hearts 3. Just off of that like realization in my head.
I wish childhood Bo was not afraid of the Kingdom Hearts vibes, because I remember like the darkness or whatever. Like I went over across the street to my friend's house. He had it like and I watched him like start the game. Like it was one of those like I don't know what the fuck this is, but you're hype about it, so all right. And I was like genuinely terrified because I'm like, I don't know what is happening right now. Because he's just like falling from the sky in some like otherworldly music.
Yeah.
Like before I knew that Kingdom Hearts music slapped, I was just like, this is
otherworldly music.
I mean, okay, to be fair, I was like, at this point in my life, I couldn't watch or read Harry Potter because it was too much. And like, and like Yu-Gi-Oh was the devil and all that stuff. So like, like, what I don't know. I can't really defend childhood me. I just wish that
I'm not assuming this is a prejudice you still hold. I just find it funny. But honestly, I
Enix hates Japanese made games and art.
I honestly could see you being a huge Kingdom Hearts fan if you played it when you were a kid. Like I obviously didn't know you as a child, but just based on the things you're into now and like the things that you've like the fact that you could get into Final Fantasy at this age means that if you were younger, you definitely could have gotten into Kingdom Hearts. But I don't know if you could get into Kingdom Hearts as an adult. That would be tough.
Like everything that I see from Kingdom Hearts, like other than the Disney shit, like all the Final Fantasy stuff in Kingdom Hearts, just like that's dope. Like Organization 13, that's the name is dope. The visuals of all of them on the fucking chairs, dope. Like the name is Zemnis. I can't tell you in a lineup. Don't know who that is. Name is dope. Like,
well, he's literally like the third clone of the same dude in the story anyway. So
Xehanort.
Yeah. Well, he is the clone, or he is the nobody of young Xehanort. But his name is the word Ansem mixed up with the letter X because that's what all the organization people do. But the thing is, he's not actually Ansem. He's Xehanort. But Xehanort stole the name Ansem from his master Ansem. And it all makes perfect sense when
and that's the thing, like I know that if I was a part of it at a young age, I would be able to speak this language fluently, but like I just can't.
Dude, and all my understanding of it truly did not come from playing it for the first time when I was 8. It came from like reading up about it when I was 14 on wikis. Like it was one of those games I loved as a kid, and then I got really into the fan base as a teenager, and then I like kind of lost interest since they waited so fucking long to release Kingdom Hearts 3. But yeah. We've talked about that before.
That's kind of how I am with Bloodborne. Like I'm trash at that game. I'm still like in the. Actually, no, I made it like a little farther in my second trying to beat the game. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever beat the game. Whatever. But I love the lore videos. Like there's this what's his name, Vati Vidya on YouTube. Like it's mostly because he's just got like a very soothing voice, but also like the Bloodborne and like Dark Souls lore is really awesome and like really fucked up, and like the story is really really cool. But if I was just playing the game, I would not get any of this. Like even the stuff in the like in the early areas, I'm just like he would be like, yeah, and then this character. I'm just like, who the fuck is that? And it's like, yeah, and you met this person early in. I'm like, I didn't even know there were people over there. Like, what are you talking about? Like, because these games are designed for, or no, I don't want to speak to like the design intent, but I'm just like, from what I can tell, it's for the people that are like going to walk up to every single fucking door and be like, what's going to be over here? And usually there's nothing, but then the 1 in 1,000 chance that like there are 2 lines of dialogue. They're like, oh shit. I'm like, that's not, like, I'm here for the slashing and the dodging. Like, you guys, I'll listen to Vati Vidya for the 2 lines.
I am here purely for the dodge roll.
The grass is the same engine as Crisis.
Shout out to the Dunk.
Donkey.
Shout out to Donkey, man.
He put up a spoiler video, like, making fun of like spoiler culture and the fact that someone leaked
I haven't watched
The Last of Us.
Yeah.
My thing is, I was laughing, and then after a while, he like kept saying, "Okay, I'm really gonna spoil The Last of Us 2," and I knew he was probably joking, but I was like, I don't want the joke to be like I told you, but blah 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 blah. So I just stopped. It's like a 5-minute video. I stopped 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in. I just
you got to be careful these days, you know.
Honestly,
I don't like people who feel a certain way about The Last of Us stuff based on the fact that like. It's partially because Naughty Dog is like a corporation, like a shitty corporation in some ways. Like that, you know, I understand where that's coming from, but at the same time, like I don't like spoiling things as like for fans who had nothing to do with it and are just like a fan of the game, like and the people out there who defend it saying like it doesn't even matter, or just spoilers in general. Like
it just
why should it matter? I don't know.
And my thing is, at this point, like, it's so close to
it's so easy to not spoil things. Like it's so easy to not spoil things, and like if it doesn't matter, like it matters until it's something. It doesn't matter until it's something you care about. That's the thing I think that gets me, is that someone will be like so willing to spoil something for someone. If you want people to respect your shit, you should respect other people's shit, you know?
Like, I just don't. I'm trying to figure out like the what's in it for me from the leakers' point of view. Like, because initially the narrative of like, oh, it's a disgruntled Naughty Dog employee, like even that didn't make sense. Like it turned out to be not true. It was just like it was a hacker that was able to get in because of like pretty much because of stay at home. Like they weren't in their secure area, whatever. Like as soon as you, from what I understand, as soon as they like leave Naughty Dog offices, it's like way higher risk of.
Well, I mean, because you're working on your home computers and stuff. That just made me realize that shit could easily happen for a ton of like games and movies going forward, like or TV shows. Like I know Mandalorian season 2 is like entirely doing post production from home, and like I'm assuming every Marvel movie that isn't out yet is the same situation. Like those could easily get leaked from someone's home, and like that's a good point. I hope that doesn't happen, but
another thing that I think is crazy about just offshoot about spoiler culture now, but like the fact that I'm scared to just go on Twitter, just in period, like because like I don't know if I like, and I'm still not sure that this was real, but I think I saw a Last of Us spoiler, like a screenshot, just in replies to like a news, like a something about COVID, like just scrolling, and I see what I was able to like process it as like, I think this is Last of Us 2, and then like just scroll away quickly. Like honestly, I got off easy. I honestly don't really remember the image. I registered Ellie's face and was like, nope, and like like she looks older than I remember her, and then moving along.
There's that like split second where you're safe, you know?
Yeah.
but sometimes it's like even that is too much, because like if you have that image in your head and you're just waiting for that exact image, and because it took you a second to look away, like that exact image, whatever it was, even if it was just a character's face, is like burned into your memory suddenly. And it's just like that happens a lot with movies when like I like only see one trailer and I'm like, I don't want to see any more. And then there's still that like one shot in that trailer I remember perfectly, and I'm waiting the whole movie for it. And then it only comes in the third act, and I'm like, okay, now I don't know what's coming.
Like I remember when Infinity War, like when it was like the Comic-Con trailer where it was like someone recording over someone else's shoulder, and it was like fuzzy as shit. Yeah. And the audio was muffled.
You
and
like
it was
half of it, and it kind of changed
it was just
part
like,
of it you could see. Yeah,
like 90% of it was just people going like like just freaking the fuck out. And I remember like just the shot of Thanos grabbing him, because also I remember the early like what people were saying was just like, you're not fucking ready for this trailer, like just hyping it up. And I remember like, I'm not like, this isn't going to be nearly as like, people are just hyping it up. Marvel probably paid these people to tweet whatever. And then Thanos grabbing the moon, and I just was like freaking the fuck out over this fuzzy ass image. And then when it happened in the movie, I'm just like, this wasn't as epic as the fuzzy image, because I had no context for the fuzzy image. Like it just makes everything so much scarier. Like the unknown
in the movie is that it's a part of a much longer battle. Like that is not the final move.
Like that's the thing. Like they didn't even. It wasn't even like, oh, he dropped a planet and now everyone's dead, and that's the end of the movie. It's like, oh, he dropped a planet.
Do that again, sir.
It's like, I don't even need the gauntlet anymore. I can just do this. Like, like he grabbed a moon. And also, I think something that goes overlooked from that scene. It's not only that he saw a moon, like I feel like the way that they kind of framed it, it was like, oh, it was kind of like he grabbed a plane out of the sky that was kind of like taking off right now and threw it down. He grabbed a fucking moon and crumbled it, and then he used the space stone to teleport it into. So it's like,
which honestly makes it less lethal when you think about it.
It's a planet. It's a moon. Like
I've noticed that though. I was like, if he had let that come into like full re-entry mode, where it's like scorching flames, like fiery meteors, it probably would have killed them more effectively than. But then it would have been like cutting the trip in half by that much.
I mean, at that point, Doctor Strange was there, so he could have like teleported them away. If he's just like, oh, you wait, and then like it's just slowly coming in.
Okay, that just reminded me.
Just no Jaws mask style.
Like, it would have been really chill if Doctor Strange, like, he's like about to fade away, and instead of saying the dope ass Endgame line, just be like, go home. Hang out there, get the other Avengers, prepare for what's coming up next. Like, just send Tony home real quick with a portal before he, like, instead of just sitting there and being like, you'll figure this out. Get home somehow. I know if we win, it means you got home, so get home somehow. Like,
God. Did they ever explain how they were breathing on time? I'm not going to start nitpicking Infinity War now. This isn't the time.
No, it's not the time, nor the place. Nor the space.
And game time, travel time heist. Not the time.
The time heist?
Okay. Should we get into this whole main topic? Because
lead us off, because I have a feeling you know a lot more about this than I do at present. So
yeah, so we're basically talking next gen, the console launches specifically. And I kind of I have the feeling that we're gonna get into just the general vibe of next gen, because I personally feel like we're gonna get like, my hope is that it feels a lot more different than PS3 to PS4. Because like with the last generation, like to me the biggest difference is like the blossoming of digital sales, like just digital games, because I feel like that became a lot more of a reality now. Like things got prettier, but that happens every console generation. I feel like the most special thing was the digitization of gaming. But like,
well, and one thing I was pretty happy with this past generation is that, like, even though we had like all the microtransactions issues, that was certainly a thing. Do you remember like the online passes last generation? Like you'd buy Call of Duty and then you had to buy the Call of Duty like online ticket on top of your like,
I honestly don't.
It was like 2 years where companies were doing this at most, I would think, maybe 3. But I remember like probably had to do it with one of the Call of Duties. I'm not sure, but I definitely remember like one of the Assassin's Creed games. Like they did that too, where it was like you could only play online, either multiplayer or just online in general with like that multiplayer pass. It was like they had like various names for it. It wasn't exactly like a season pass, but it was like a thing for a while. And then the microtransactions were obviously shitty. Like and like games were ruined by them. I don't want to say that they were like minimal, but the games that really were successful using them did what it was. It's still exploitative, loop, like all that shit is terrible. But you or I could play a game and enjoy it like without feeling like we're restricted, even if there's microtransactions, because typically they were done for like additional cosmetic type things.
Companies got smarter.
Yeah, it's not like you bought Call of Duty and then you had to pay $20 to play the reason you got Call of Duty. Like,
yeah, like thanks for buying our game. Now you have to like pay to play the game. Like you own it, sure, but like
that's the thing. Like all the things that made playing games different. Like not like the big leap from like PS2 to PS3 was like graphics and the fact that you could play like everything online. But like in terms of like they didn't really figure out how any of that shit worked until this like current gen. So
yeah, I feel like companies started like, especially Microsoft, like, and I'm excited to kind of like a lot of like, for one thing, the thing that inspired this week's topic is that Microsoft did their like third-party reveal, which ended up being kind of controversial. Like, did you see any of this, any of the like the actual event or the scuttlebutt around it?
Not really. Although I was looking at some stuff before we started about the price point. Although I think that was just speculation, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'm honestly not trying to, because I feel like every week, the general consensus is like it's going to be somewhere around $500, but COVID might change that, and then that's just that every week. And like, oh, the PS5 is probably going to be more expensive than the Xbox. And then we're just like, okay, people are going to buy them. Like, yeah, like I'm being real. Like people are already saving up for them. Like I'm saving up for my PS5. Like I'm prepared. Like whatever it is.
Unless that's the thing. The people who are like launch windows, like every now and then you get a system that crosses over and like the mainstream is buying it in the launch window, but typically it's only the most devoted fans who buy a console when it first releases.
Exactly.
And usually there's only like one of those that crosses over per generation at most. Like I like the Wii was huge when it launched, but most people, even 360 did well, but like its success built over time, especially while the PlayStation was absolutely failing to launch,
Yeah. And like
the Switch had a huge opening.
But like the Xbox came out at a great time because it was one after the PS3, and the PS3 was catching flack for being $600, and that was like back like
I thought the 360 came out before.
I'm pretty sure the PS3 came out before. I honestly could be completely wrong. I could be pulling that out of my ass.
2007.
I have no idea. I don't know.
It's not that important, but
I just remember that the Xbox like came out at a significantly cheaper price point than the PS3 at the time.
The PS3 was like what?
I think it was 600.
600, you said, right? That sounds about right.
I think so.
700. Oh, I lost you for a second there.
No, I'm chilling.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. No, okay, cool. You were like you were glitching a wee bit.
Yeah. All right.
Word.
Well, we're good.
But in terms
Sorry,
of like
audio listeners, that was probably very confusing. We had just a
moment.
Yeah.
Everything is wacky in these crazy times. You've gotta forgive. So yeah, I feel like the question. So that's another thing that I kind of want to get into. I feel like this is going to be a very different console launch, and I have nothing from Microsoft or Sony specifically is making me think that what I'm about to say is 100% true, but like I feel confident enough to say this shit. Like I feel like the way that Xbox is about to roll out, it's going to be more of like be a part of the Xbox platform. Like I feel like
because they're doing a pretty cross-gen approach, is my understanding.
Like cross-gen and cross-platform. Like like if the rumors are true that like they're gonna get xCloud on Switch, that's fucking huge. Like,
okay, what is the current rumor on that? Because I remember hearing about that ages ago, but I haven't heard anything recently. Has that been substantiated more recently?
No, I mean it's been a while since, like, you're right, it's been a while since those rumors have really popped up. But I feel like as xCloud is like getting more stable, because like from what I understand, it is still in like closed beta, but like everyone that uses it says that it's better than Stadia right now. Which like, and I don't know if I brought this up on the podcast. Like I actually used Stadia when they made it free. Like I jumped on a little bit to play Destiny. Like it's like I'm ass at mouse and keyboard, but like it ran fine. Like I did the whole press the button and wait for the jump and cool. It was pretty immediate. So like if xCloud works better than Stadia, then that's huge.
Yeah, I think this came up on our episode on Next Gen that we did in the last year. That if they're able to, if they are putting it xCloud on obviously phones and computers, but I mean a lot of those are Microsoft products anyway. But on something like the Switch, that just proves that they're going much more for the approach that like it doesn't matter where they're playing our games. If people are playing our games, they're buying our games. And,
exactly.
You know, if it goes by the subscription model too, it's like, you know, it's why this Netflix is on. Well, ironically, not the Switch, but it's why Netflix is on like every possible device or Hulu or whatever. Like
you can run it on a smart fridge.
Exactly. Like the more things you can play it on, the more likely you are to purchase it. So yeah. And at the end of the day, like it is great to sell someone a $400 console, but if you can get them to sign up for your game subscription service for 5 to 10 years, then that's ultimately going to cost more money.
And I feel like something that COVID is kind of showing us is that, like, for one thing, there are a lot more gamers than we thought. It's just a matter of like reaching them. Like, like my dad for a long time has said like, oh, I'm not a video game person. I don't play video games. And then like, just I've spent a lot more time with him the last few days. And I realized like, bro, you play games all the fucking time. You're just a mobile gamer. Like there's an asterisk next to it, but like you're a gamer. Like you just have to, it's just a matter of getting to, like, if he's comfortable on his phone and Xbox can meet him at his phone, then like they have a way better chance of making him an Xbox player than Sony making them a PlayStation player. Like
absolutely, yeah.
Especially
the thing is, ironically, PlayStation's going, and I think ending is going to end up being, or at least the way the PS4 is when it's finally all said and done and it's been discontinued, is what probably made it as successful as it was isn't just the gamers with a capital G, you know, it's the fact that, you know, like Kylie's family has like 2 or 3 PS4s and they watch a lot more movies than they play games. You know, it's like they built an at-home theater and they needed something to play movies off of. So they got a PS4. And like, I think there's obviously it was Xbox who came out the gate being like, we are your multimedia system. And everyone was like, fuck that shit. And now, of course, I feel like that's been a huge part in the PlayStation success is you've got people buying it for their household where the kids play games or, you know, the dad plays games or whoever's playing games. And then, you know, the rest of the family is using it to watch Netflix or to play Blu-rays or whatever it is, you know, even fucking play Spotify. Like I use my PS4 for so much and it's not, you know, I was one of those people being like, what is this Xbox One bullshit? I don't want to watch TV on my Xbox. And yeah. Now it's cable.
Like I've been a Sony pony for a while, and once the PS4 was announced, I was like that one. But like I didn't really even consider, like, honestly, once the Red Rings of Death hit, like once that happened to my Xbox, I was like, fuck Microsoft, nothing. And then people are just, oh well, the new Xbox is like they don't do that anymore. I'm like, hey, well, then why did this one? Like I don't. It's still the company. I'm still mad at them. But, okay, not me. Still mad at them. Like at the time, I had beef. But like I remember when they were announcing all of that stuff, like it's always online and blah 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 blah. But like when I heard that, I was like, okay, like this is the future. Like I don't give a shit. Like games will always update. Cool. Like fucking, I can buy a game digitally, and if there's another Xbox in my house and we're like in a or just if there's another Xbox across the country and we're in the same family, if I buy that game, then they can play it. Like as long as I'm not playing it, they can play it, no latency. Just they own that game. Dope. Like that's awesome. The idea of, especially with like now that like smart houses are a thing. Like walking into your house being like, okay, hey, whatever, turn on the lights. Hey, Xbox, turn on the TV on to whatever time news. As you make dinner and then you sit down, turn on Netflix to this channel. And then you do that. And then turn on Halo and you sit down and play your fucking controller. Like,
yeah, but then you have to play Halo.
So that's okay. So I kind of want to talk about the lineup. No, that's valid.
No, I pulled up the lineup here of the launch game. Lord of the Rings Gollum. What?
Yeah, I honestly I don't remember that. So that's
okay.
That's the thing.
I'll have to look that up separately. But there's a lot of other things here I do know about. So
yeah, I'll start with the controversy because that's fun. Mm-hmm. So this was like heavily publicized as being like the first gameplay reveal for Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah.
Because they did a really cool like I honestly thought it was a really cool way they announced the whole we're gonna have Boss Logic show the like art design as he's making it, and we're gonna show like the cinematic trailers that Assassin's Creed. I've never really been a huge fan of the series. I've always loved Assassin's Creed trailers. They've always been awesome.
Yeah.
So watch that gameplay reveal trailer next week at the Xbox reveal. I'm like fucking awesome. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. And then they don't show us gameplay. Like it was in engine.
Oh, I did see some of this on Twitter. Yeah.
It was in engine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of the animation was gameplay. Like some of the fighting animations were gameplay. But at no point. I remember watching the entire trailer and waiting for the gameplay to kick in, and then it ended, and then I'm like, oh, that was just like a hype, like a sizzle reel before the actual gameplay starts, and we get some no, it's just over. It was really, really upsetting. And I'm not even an Assassin's Creed fanboy like that. So for the really hardcore fans, I'm just I am devastated for you. That sucks. Mm-hmm. And then there was a whole conversation of should people be upset? Is it worth? Does Microsoft owe us an apology? And they apologized, so it's whether or not you think they owe you one, they did apologize.
Yeah, that's something. I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, because it was kind of or I felt like it was made out to be more epic than it actually was. They made it seem more there was some cool shit in there. It was really, really cool, but it's not making me more excited for Xbox. If that makes sense. It makes me excited for these games specifically. I don't know if they're Xbox exclusive, or if it's going to be a timed exclusive, or the way that Cyberpunk is kind of partnering with Xbox. I don't know, but
I mean that's the thing. These I'm assuming Assassin's Creed's not exclusive. Every E3, one of the two gets to show off Call of Duty. Everyone knows they're multi-platform, and whoever's presenting it will be play Call of Duty on PlayStation 4, or even though there's the little subtext of
get maps early on PS4.
Yeah, or even that, where it's exclusive stuff. But at the end of the day, it's literally just let's remind people they can play this on this, but it should really add to the hype of the console. We all knew. Anyone who would care knows that already,
Yeah, there's no reason for me to switch camps.
Yeah, if anything, it's just to get you to watch the Xbox thing, is being I'm an Assassin's Creed fan, I'm going to get it on PS5, but to see the gameplay, I have to watch this Xbox thing, and then while you're there, Microsoft's hey, maybe you shouldn't get a PS5, and then by the end, who knows? Maybe they're convinced. I just seriously, yeah. If it's if you're there for Assassin's Creed and that's what's most important to you, you might think you've decided what console you're getting, but then who knows? You might be more likely to be fooled, not fooled.
I mean, so part of I feel like one of the things that Xbox is going to have to do and that I'm kind of this is one of the reasons I'm excited for Xbox. I feel like once they smart delivery. I'm sorry, I was trying to frame this carefully. I'm just I don't know how to transition. Smart delivery. Do you know what that is? Their concept of
no.
It's basically once you buy a game with Xbox, once Xbox One X comes out, whatever the fuck it's called, they'll let you buy a game on Xbox One. So if I were to buy Cyberpunk on Xbox One, when Xbox Series X comes out, it'll just be on Series X, or like I don't know exactly how it works, but like if I assume like if I buy it digitally and I just sign in on my account on the Series X, it'll pop up with the better graphics and the ray tracing and whatever the fuck it's going to be. Like,
that's cool.
And for pretty much all the game, I'm gonna assume it was all the games that they showed off, because it'd be dumb if they like had like, I think it was like 13 games and then one of them just doesn't. Like that's a cool concept in my opinion. I feel like fucking PlayStation has to do something to that regard. They have to.
That's the it does bother me though, because if what you're saying and what the my understanding of the situation is that Xbox Series X games are essentially going to be just beefed up Xbox One games, like what, like doesn't that diminish a bit of the excitement about next gen games if all of them are just playable on Xbox One? If PS5 is going to be like, yeah, you have to buy a PS5 to play these games, but that's because these are PS5 games. Like that to me is more attractive than, you know, like I don't know, except for the people who are the most like who care the most about the graphics and the technical stuff. Like if I could pay $150 for a used Xbox One or pay $400 for an Xbox Series X, like I would rather buy the cheaper console and then save my money to buy a PS5 and then get like the true next gen experience.
So yes, but you still bought an Xbox One, which means that you're going to buy Xbox One games.
That's so like, okay. Like but then, I don't know. I guess the point is like,
I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like
a new console. Like I don't know. I
feel like the promise of, so maybe you really, really, really want Cyberpunk right now, but you cannot afford the Xbox Series X. Yeah. But you can. You already have an Xbox. Like you already have an Xbox One X or Xbox One, whatever the fuck. So you buy Cyberpunk for that, and then once you can save up to the next one, then you buy the Xbox, you know, because in theory, like your entire library will be able to go with you. And like, why would you, like, it's kind of the reason that I'm looking at Sony right now being like I'm probably not going to jump ship, but like if you make me get an entirely new library anyway, well, I'm still going to get a PlayStation because fucking Spider-Man 2 and Horizon Zero, like the exclusives are going to be Sony's main.
Yeah, and for people like you and me who are really there, like who make their decisions primarily on console exclusives, like that's going to be enough for us. But even without that, like if Sony can match Xbox, like because what Xbox is doing is like a combination of like both. It's sort of like forwards compatibility and backwards compatibility because it's like you can carry your library over from the Xbox One. But also new games are going to be playable on the older system. Whereas Sony could easily match that if they just make the PS5 backwards compatible. And I know there's like, it's not clear that they're going to really be able to do that the way everyone wants them to, which is just true backwards compatibility, like every other console used to have.
Here's the thing. No, so here's the thing with PS5's backward compatibility, because Mark Cerny talked about this in his talk. It almost put me to sleep. If I wasn't drinking espresso at the time, holy shit, it was, because he has an ASMR type voice and it will knock you the fuck out. But basically, it's like they're kind of restoring PS4 games, like PS4 classics, like the top 100 PS4. So like, if we wanted to play God of War or Spider-Man on our PS5's day one, we probably could, but it will also run slightly better from what we understand. Like it'll get the benefit from the, you know, the increased
upscaling.
Yeah.
Okay. So well, I mean, look, if that's the thing, if I can essentially like, cause I never got a PS4 Pro, but if I can play at least a lot of my PS4 games on a PS5, pretty much as though it were a PS4 Pro, like that's, yeah, I mean, that's like 2 for 1, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And like,
I hope that's the case, but the main thing I'm hoping to get out of it is that if PS Now turns out to be what they're promising of it, where you can not only play obviously classic games, but and new games, but you know, PlayStation 4 games as well, and download them and not have to worry about streaming and all that stuff. Like that to me is like, I love the concept of backwards compatibility. But like even with my PS2 games, I've rebought a couple PS2 games on PS4 as digital downloads, and like that's because it's just I'd rather have the ease of having it all on one system, and like you know the like at this point, the appeal of popping a PS2 game into my PS4, like if I'm purely going for the nostalgia, if I want to play a PS2 game, I just pop into my PS2. You know, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So like at that point, if I'm going to play an old game on my system, I don't mind downloading it or streaming it if my internet's good. So if PS Now can really be as good as I hope it is, I think that more than anything else could really just send. I mean, PlayStation's already got a bit of the edge, so it could just, you know, if Sony can be like, hey, we have Netflix for games, I feel like it's almost over at that point.
I am kind of hoping that, because Game Pass on Xbox is kind of what PlayStation Now, like that's kind of what I want it to be. So I'm hoping that like by next generation they can kind of, if not like keep competing into like just have an arms race of just like so that we win ultimately. Like that's you know. Yeah.
Well, I could easily see a situation where, let's say Microsoft commits more intensely, because it already seems like they are, to the software rather than the hardware. I mean, not that the Xbox One or Series X or whatever, I don't care what it ends up being. I still hate the title.
The Xbox. We're just going to call it the Xbox.
If the new Xbox, Xbox current,
Xbox new boy.
Yeah, if the newborn Xbox baby, is essentially, you know, going to have the same lineup as the current generation, but they commit harder to the software of like you can play your fucking, I'm blanking on it. We've said it multiple times. The thing on the service that you can play on your Switch.
Smart delivery. xCloud.
xCloud. If you can play xCloud on any thing you have, eventually maybe they just won't put out hardware, and you could end up with a situation where you have your Nintendo Cube over here, but then like your PlayStation is like not only like the console of choice, but potentially the only dedicated home console, but you're still paying Microsoft $15 a month for xCloud or something like that.
Like I don't see a future where xCloud is on the PlayStation. But
I'm saying this would probably be like another 1 or 2 console generations from now if Microsoft continues to focus on it. Like, because if it turns out to be a lucrative thing for them where they've got everyone hooked regardless of what they're playing on, and PlayStation is the last thing, you know, like they might want to. Whether or not Sony wants them to have it on their system is another thing. But by that point, if it could move consoles, you know, maybe they would.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I really, I'm at this point. I just want it to be here now. Like I want. Like
well,
time
is likely going to get delayed, I would imagine, right?
Don't you fucking say that! Don't you dare! You don't. How dare you? They probably will, but don't make.
Look, most of us can, like, who are going to get this shit at launch or can think about getting it at launch, can probably get it shipped to our house. So it's not like, you know, like the quarantine situation probably won't affect that. Like, we'll be able to buy our consoles, but like, you know, I got to imagine they're working pretty damn hard to finish them. And again, since it's hardware, not software, I'm sure a lot of it's built by robots in factories, but I'm sure there's a lot of like actual human labor that goes into not just finishing developing the console, but also literally manufacturing and sending them out to people. So
yeah, that's
I would be shocked and impressed, but also probably worried for the workers if they were able to get the new consoles out by the end of the year. I don't know.
You know who else was shocked?
Oh God.
Ray at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
The fucking grin just start at the center of your mouth and work its way to the side of your face. And I was like, are we transitioning? And then you said it. And I was like, I guess we're transitioning.
Because I was gonna not. Because I did want to like, my thing was like, I could talk about fucking the future of streaming for way too long. So I was mostly trying to stop myself. Like I felt myself like, but what about xCloud? And what about like the fact that you can download stuff on PS, like just all of this?
Yeah,
I'm just gonna shut myself up because I do want to talk about this week's Movies Defined, Rise of Skywalker.
Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, so I guess do you want to start? How do you want to start? Because there are many ways that we could approach this in my head.
Okay, so we did talk about this movie when it first came out. So anyone who's been listening since then is aware of how we initially felt about it, which is put most plainly, you really liked it.
I did.
I didn't. But I was never, and I still am not as vehemently against it as so many people are. So but with this rewatch, I will say I did enjoy it more, at least in the sense of I knew what I was getting myself into. My expectations were lower, although to be honest, they weren't really that high when I went into it in the first place because I was already pretty worried. But just kind of knowing that like I couldn't really be disappointed, you know, like even if I didn't like it again, there was no way I was going to be disappointed. I gotta admit, like I still had plenty of issues with it, but even the things I didn't like, I could at least enjoy the explosion that was in front of it. You know, like
that's the thing. Yeah. Like when I said this initially, when I first saw it, I was drunk off 3 Bloody Marys and then walked in with a Truly, and I had the best fucking time. Like
truly the best time.
Truly. Like I just sat there and watched the colors and lights flash in front of my eyes and then left, and I was like, that was all. I literally tweeted out the best Star Wars.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember all of our friends being shocked. Because like I saw it with like half of our like group chat, so we were all just like, "Oh, that was a mess." Am I right? Am I right? And then you were like, "Bro,"
it was like that was awesome. Like, remember to like seriously, it was just I was a child. And I watched it again.
That's what these movies are for, anyway. So it's fine.
Yeah, like, and ultimately, like, I don't feel that much toward it. Like, I guess that's the thing. Like, yes, it's not good, but like, it's not like it doesn't bring me to the same level of rage that Batman v Superman did.
Right.
But I also don't have the childhood attachment to Star Wars that I feel like other people have. So like, I don't know.
Well, see, that's where I always find this disconnect because like even Batman v Superman, I don't like. Justice League, I like even less. Rise of Skywalker, I was disappointed by. But the truth is, and like, I grew up with all these things as much as everyone else who's pissed about Rise of Skywalker. I just can't bring myself to get that mad about Star Wars. Like, and it's not through lack of caring. It's just because Star Wars functions as something that brings me joy. So if it's not bringing me joy, I just don't watch it again. Like and even when I did watch it again this time, I was able to find joy in it because like that is the like, you know, like I can't bring myself to watch a Star Wars movie and try to hate it. Like a Star Wars movie would have to like be 2 hours of like someone shitting in my mouth, like for me to not at least try to find some joy in it. You know what I mean?
George Lucas shitting in your mouth and explaining taxation and like trade routes and shit.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like even Attack of the Clones, which probably after this rewatch I can definitively say is my least favorite of the Skywalker saga because it was one of the two. It was either Rise of Skywalker or Attack of the Clones for me. But I would say, yeah, like Rise of Skywalker is better acting. And it's got the action is better framed and shot. Like the story, I would argue, is not as good, but at the same time, it's probably better presented than the story is in Attack of the Clones. So, like, I can say all that. That said, even when I watch Attack of the Clones, where I consider a third of that movie when, you know, Anakin and Padme are on Naboo supposedly falling in love, I consider all of that, like, painful to watch. But at the same time, I'm being hyperbolic. Like I can, if I want to watch Attack of the Clones all the time because it's a Star Wars movie. So like, even when I throw it on just for, you know, casual enjoyment, like when I get to those points I don't like, I don't know, look at my phone or something. Like I like this, the parts I like are still there, and it's easier for me to just focus on that and, you know, brush off what I don't like. And I feel the same way now about Rise of Skywalker, where like, now that I've seen it twice, when I eventually go back to watch it a third, fourth, and potentially fifth or more times, you know, the parts I don't like, which is primarily the first act, because it's just mindless. I don't know. Like
that's my problem with the movie.
I'll be like looking at my phone for the first half hour, and then by the time they hit the planet with Babu Frick, like from that point on, I pretty much enjoyed the rest of the movie. Like it's not my favorite Star Wars movie by any stretch, but yeah, that was my big takeaway. Like I really enjoyed the the last 2/3 of the movie. I felt like, as far as, you know, fast-paced action movie with characters I enjoy. Like, you know,
I mean, I feel like my issue with the rewatch especially is that like I would kind of like zone out and then tune back in and just be like, what the fuck have I, like, what is happening? And like who are we talking to now? Okay, okay, like I was so detached from everything. Yeah. But like I'd come back for like these individual moments of like Babu Frick makes me laugh every time. Like he's fucking
the best.
Yeah. Like hey, like he's great. And like I'll like, especially during that scene, like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, they're killing fucking C-3PO. Like this is intense. Yeah. And they address the fact that like, oh well, can't R2? No, he can't. Like
they go out of their way to address the fact that they can't, like that R2 specifically can't replace his memory, and then R2 specifically replaces his memory with like the same thing from like with C-3PO from a month ago. Like it's not
even that. Like C-3PO so it's like the mind wiped C-3PO talking to R2-D2, and R2-D2's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm your best friend, blah, blah, blah. And C-3PO, I don't know you. And he's just like, no, like I have your memory. Like, let me put this thing in your head. And C-3PO is just like, no. And the next thing, it's like C-3PO resists, and then the next thing we see is fucking R2-D2 with this thing in his head. So I'm like, how did we even, like, you set up tension and then you don't give us a way of, like, you don't give us a solution. It's just like, here's the problem and now it's solved. Like, there's no journey there.
And that's the thing. The fake outs in the movie definitely got to me. The pace of it got to me. There was, like, even... I'm an apologist for the whole Rey Palpatine thing. I think it fits with the themes of the trilogy with her character. Like, you know, she goes from wanting to know who her parents are to being told her parents are no one, so she has to, you know, deal with being no one. And then she finds out even worse that not only were her parents, like, you know, her parents were worse than no one. They were the kids of Palpatine, but it's essentially the same thing. It's her having to accept the fact that she's not going to find, you know, personal enlightenment via her family. It's just handled in a different way because, you know, I guess J.J. Abrams doesn't like Rian Johnson. But
I mean, that's the thing. Like everything I would see myself being okay with stuff that's happening on screen, and then I would think to like the last two movies, and I'm just like, this. Yeah. It's not even like it. Like if it was done better, even like I don't know. I don't know if it's purely the decision making. Like I don't know, because in the way that they'll even address the retcons in the movie, like when Rey's like, you told me my parents were no one. Even the way that Kylo Ren says like they were no one because they chose to be. I'm just like, no, fuck you, man. Like that's not.
Well, that's ironically the most Star Wars thing about all that is that even in the original trilogy, in the episode 6, Luke is like, Obi-Wan, you motherfucker, you told me my parents were, or that you told me Darth Vader killed my father. Mm-hmm. And like almost in the exact same way, Obi-Wan goes like, well, you know, depending on how you look at it, and he literally says from a certain point of view, like honestly, I found that to be the most Star Wars thing about the whole plot twist. Okay, honestly,
well, I've not finished episode 6 yet, so maybe that's on me.
But that's the thing. I mean, the diehard Star Wars fans would come up with some reason why it was better done in Return of the Jedi than in like, that's the thing I think that really upsets me the most about Rise of Skywalker. It's not the movie. It's the fact that, like, people can't just not like a Star Wars movie. Like, it has to be, like, a betrayal to their soul. Mm-hmm. And I've never had that experience with any media before. Like, there's definitely been, like, entries in franchises I haven't liked, but I've never felt like even when Justice League came out, I was like, there is some hope. And then it was a dumpster fire. Oh, yeah. But honestly, like, I moved on. And
I think if I've ever been betrayed like that, and I'm like, oh yeah, fucking Batman murdering folks.
Well, yeah. And like, I understand why you're upset about that, but I don't know. It just goes back to what I said before. Like, I don't know. It's the whole, like, it's like Sex and Pizza, where like, even when it's not good, it's still pizza, you know? Like, I mean,
my thing is sex. Even when it's not good, it's pizza.
Pizza.
No, I know, but it was just
it's not the perfect analogy, but the point is. I hope the point is clear.
No, you were very clear. I was just trying to make a silly time.
Well done, sir.
I don't want to defend the hate, but like, and I don't even. Okay, so kind of comparing it to my hate for Batman v Superman. It's mostly the fact that like so I'm not saying that I could make a better Batman movie, but like I could be a fucking fantastic Batman consultant. Like I could, if you needed tips on like, hey, so like we're trying to tell this kind of story, which, you know, comics should we take from? I could like like I might have to do a little bit more research, but like I can pinpoint, the right themes and shit like that to then put on screen. And I feel like, especially knowing that like we're probably not going to get like the live action, like Dark Knight Returns story that we want. Like that's probably not going to happen for a long time, at least. Like we're not going to get a good Superman Doomsday movie for a long time, like because this kind of stole that. Like we're not going to get a good Justice League movie for a long time because we're kind of.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Marvel and Dark Phoenix. Like now that they've fucked it up twice, like the MCU is not going to touch that story for maybe ever.
Exactly. And the fact that like Fantastic Four, they have to like. They're kind of treading lightly on this one. Like if they fuck this up, then
it's over for that franchise.
And it's kind of like I especially after Endgame, like watching a finale. Like if you're holding just millions of childhoods in your hands, like I feel like you do need to approach it with some level of care and some level of like, if I don't know what I'm doing, I gotta find the people that do. Like I don't like. If someone was like, "Hey, you make a Star Wars movie," I'm like, "No, thank you." Like, fucking, I'm gonna fuck that up and ruin. I don't know. Like, even in like Solo, like I felt weird watching Rise of Skywalker again. Like, especially, I saw some tweet where it was comparing like the conclusion of 6. Again, I have not seen 6, like the end of it, but just Luke with a peaceful resolution versus. Like one lightsaber, 2 lightsabers, boom! Like it's.
Well, that comes down to
that movie. It's just weird. Like what is the theme here? Like what's the lesson that you learned? Where's the training moment where it's like, oh, I can't. There's. It just felt so.
I think it's similar to people's issues with Wonder Woman and because that's another one I rewatched recently and like. That movie has very strong themes throughout all of it, and I think the themes still work as a whole, but the final confrontation of that is literally like, punch, punch, now I'm being held back, but I will break free, and then suddenly lightning strikes Ares, and enough energy hits him that eventually he blows up. And that's essentially what happens to the Emperor. And like those kinds of finales like are never as interesting as either like a more grounded fight scene that has like some interesting choreography and back and forth tension, or something that's a little non-traditional, like say the ending of like Doctor Strange, where like there's like, or like you said, Return of the Jedi, where yes, it ends with violence in the sense that Darth Vader kills the Emperor, or incapacitates him for 30 years, whatever. A whole other thing.
Temporarily blows him up.
Yeah, throws him down a bottomless pit. He blows up, but he's not dead. Anyway.
Somehow.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. Like, when I saw it in the theaters, I was just like, oh no, like somehow the Emperor. And as I watch it again, Poe's look of exasperation. It's like, no, that's Oscar Isaac. Like, that's not Poe Dameron. That's okay. I signed on to this trilogy thinking it was in good hands. Somehow.
Out that like no one calls him Palpatine like through the original trilogy, so it's just kind of interesting that they would call him Palpatine there, and then suddenly like there's no real even clear indication that anyone, like especially people born after the Empire came into power, would even know that his name is Palpatine. Like he's always just the Emperor. So like it'd be like if they were like, somehow Adolf has returned. Like why didn't you just say Hitler? Like to go out of the way to say the less like well-known part of the name, like,
and they just okay. And also, so something that I noticed on the second time through, people were like, just the internet got all upset because it was like they didn't explain it. And at one point, Matt Parker from Heroes says like, yeah, like I know that he's done like some crazy cloning shit and like he can, dark arts. So they kind of explain it in the movie.
Yeah, they even use a line uses a line from the prequels, which I actually do really like, both as a callback and as like a form of exposition, where he says like the dark side is a path to powers that some would consider unnatural. Like honestly, especially for a fantasy story like Star Wars, I think that's more than enough explanation. Like he is a magic wizard. Like do whatever you like. I don't know. That part of it never bothered me as much as other things. I think the fact that there was at least the fact that the radio transmission was in Fortnite, and the fact that you could read the explanation in the novel, like kind of made it worse for some people, but in the context of the movie, like why he came back was less annoying to me than just the simple fact that he did come back, period, you know?
Yeah. It just doesn't, especially within the context of the trilogy as a whole.
Yeah.
Just like, y'all really set up this whole the past is dead, like that's the message of the villain, whatever. But like you're killing off old characters and you're saying that like the next generation has it, and you're trying to like pass the torch, and now we're gonna literally the oldest person that they could bring up to fight. Like I don't know.
And and even with the Emperor, like he's very much like just a maniacal. Oh, excuse me, little burpees. He's very much a little maniacal villain in the original trilogy, but you get like scenes of him like walking amongst the Empire, and you get like him in the throne room having like a normal like it's very much like you will turn to the dark side, but like it's just like him talking as another person to Luke, like. But then in Rise of Skywalker, he is in this like robotic throne, and he's shooting lightning into the fucking sky, and it's all this stuff that like he becomes such a non-character type of villain, like with no real like he was already like you took a character that is like characterized by the fact that his motivation is just power and villainy, and you somehow made him feel even more flat,
So I feel like one of the common complaints that I've seen of like just blockbuster like superhero movies or just action movies is that like by the end of it there's a blue light in the sky and the people have to fight either around it or in it or whatever. So like the original Avengers or fucking did Batman v Superman have one?
No, but
Man of Steel did.
Suicide Squad, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Amazing Spider-Man 2. It was all around that like 2012 to 2015 or 2016. It was really, it was probably Avengers more than anything else that kind of started the trend. Yeah.
Yeah, people did that. Looks dope. Put it in. Giggity.
It is a literal centerpiece.
Yeah, but they kind of did that in Rise of Skywalker with the
absolutely.
It was lightning and it looked dope and it took out the fleets and all that stuff. That was cool, but like.
Well, and like anything else in that movie, it lasted for like 5 seconds before they moved on to the next thing.
I thought it lasted a little too long.
Really?
To me, it was just like he just kept doing. He's just like and everyone's falling in post, just looking at people die. Yeah, like okay. So that's the first time I saw it in theaters. I was just like, oh my god! Like my eyes watered, like not out of like emotion, just out of like what is happening? Because the way that the sound like cuts out, it's like. It zooms in. It's just like the whoo, and it's just like it sounds like there's a suction to the room, like a suction to the volume, and you're just like, oh fuck, and then all of it comes out. Like that was awesome. Like that individual moment was cool, and then after that, I'm just like, oh yeah, are they dead? What's going on with them? Why are they on the ground? And then I remembered, oh wait, they're gonna kiss in a second. Why? Like I feel like after the knowing that I don't know. The kiss still bothers me. Like going into it knowing that it's going to lead to that, like really bothered me. You are frozen, but I'm just going to keep going because I hope that you're going to bounce back at some point. And this movie was a movie made by Star Wars people. J.J. Abrams directed it. I hear and see. There we go.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if that was an actual end to a rant or I was trying to play along for a second. Okay.
No, I was like, okay, you froze. I'm sure you're gonna pop back. I'm just no dead air. I'm just gonna keep.
No, I appreciate you doing that, and we can use that to I had some more good thoughts on Rise of Skywalker, but honestly, like it made enough money. It doesn't need my support right now. and we're moving on from Disney tentpoles for the next Movies Defined, and I think it's probably good that we spread our love across more than just a single company and their single streaming service. So we're switching over to Hulu, and we're watching Portrait of a Lady on Fire this week, which is very much a different vibe than what we're used to. I
don't know what the fuck this is. This is okay. Let's do it.
That's an image from the movie.
I don't know what don't say anything.
Someone who paints a portrait, and the lady in the portrait has fire on her.
Or is it a portrait of a lady and the portrait itself is on fire?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Wasn't the lady on fire Jennifer Lawrence in Hunger Games? Wasn't that like her name? Or like maybe it's the Hunger Games
Alicia Keys song. It's the first Hunger Games.
It's the Hunger Deans. Yeah, so this one's on Hulu. You can find it there. Watch it, tweet at us. I'm excited for this one because it's the first one. Well, it's the first one we haven't seen, or either of us haven't seen, that we're doing. And hopefully that means we'll have a more robust conversation about it that isn't just like, fuck this space movie.
Yeah, I feel like hopefully this will come somewhere in the middle between like, this movie, like I wish I didn't see this movie again, and seeing this movie again wrecked me emotionally. Like, maybe this movie will wreck us emotionally. I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really know very little about this at all. So, yeah, it's supposed to be good though. So,
and if it's not, then I'm gonna lash out on Twitter to those who lied to me and who've wronged me in the past.
You know what? This movie made too much money anyway. I don't know relative to its budget how it did. I think it did probably fairly well for a small indie. Well, anyway, that's yeah.
We can talk about it in the future when we know what the fuck it is. Because I still
good call. No. Let's talk about the movie when
and the freezes. We'll talk about it when. We'll talk about it when. Talk about it when Edward is back on the screen.
Seen it.
There we go.
There
we are.
The show. I think we should stop pushing our luck and just say, stay home and stay loose.
Wash your hands, stay loose. Uh-oh, the freezies again.
Do it without looking at